Believe it or not, it's our responsibility to provide our next generation with the guidance, the fortitude, the strength, the community, and knowledge that they need to succeed.
We gotta cancel culture, change the way our kids are thinking. Think about the pain and anguish. We can save next generation. Break the cycle, no administration. Replacing anger with contemplation. Gotta teach them how to use their minds. Remind our kids they born divine. With a right to be, with a right to live, with a right to be exactly who they is. Cause eventually you'll be writing them in a prison cell while you're wiping tears.
I know, cause that was me.
Just ask my mama. I'm sorry for the things I did when I was young. I know no better. On second thought, I knew a lot. In retrospect.
All right. Y'all know what it is. We back. And we're going to jump right into chapter 5. Being self-aware, mindfulness. So this chapter is about mindfulness, anger, and the power of the present moment. If you don't own the moment will own you. That's my quote. Why this lesson matters? Anger is often a reaction, not a response. It's the product of worry about the future, past from the pain, and a lack of awareness of the present. Licensed marriage and family therapist Anita Vedian says, oftentimes we find ourselves living in the past and/or future. What about the present? What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware of where you are, what you're doing and what you're feeling without judgment. It means noticing your emotions, slowing down before reacting, using your body and senses to ground yourself, and choosing presence over pressure. The anger trap. When we aren't mindful, anger controls our body, clouds our judgments, damages relationships. But when we practice mindfulness, we can create pause, a moment to choose what's next. The 5 senses grounding tool, inspired by Anita Avedian's techniques and exercise I like to call the vow of silence. By centering yourself, you will be able to take in the world around you while being present. Her exercise is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, check-in. You may have heard of this before. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, pause and name 5 things you can see. Let's see, I can see a cup, I can see a mic, I can see a lamp, I can see walls, I can see some headphones over there, right? 4 things you can touch, right? I can touch myself, I can touch this here, I can touch this couch. Well, it's kind of soft too. Yeah, it is. 3 things you can hear. I can hear my kids through the door in the other room. I can hear myself breathing. And I can hear the silence of this space that I'm in, right? 2 things you can smell. I smell a candle. I can smell this juice in this cup here. And then it says 1 thing you can taste, which we're going to go back to that. So good. So this practice here, it is meant to anchor you in your environment. It calms your nervous system, interrupts the anger autopilot. And then there's my vow of silence practice. And you can do this modified, or you can do a full 5 days if you have it in you, right? But in the book I wrote, Coach B's 4 Cycles of Freedom, I introduced a 5-day vow of silence. It's called The Silent Road of the Watchful Master. And where each day is dedicated to 1 sense, right? So instead of 5 things, 4 things, each full day of silence, you are thinking about and documenting at the end of the day via journal or using your phone or whatever, But throughout your vow of silence, you would start each day with some kind of mantra about what sense you're going to be focused on. Like, you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, today I'm going to smell everything there is to smell, every scent, and I'm going to follow it where it takes me, right? So silence teaches you what your voice covers up. So try 5 hour silence or a full day if possible for you, with the goal of observing and experiencing one sense deeply. Even if you did it 5 hours, do 1 hour of complete silence and make sure you're in public, right? Do your vow of silence where you are still present. It's really easy to do a vow of silence if you seclude yourself and isolate yourself. But do it when you're around people. Let them know ahead of time, orient them, right? So each day, for example, if you did the 5 days, it'd be day one, sight. You observe color, light, movement, everything you see, you just think about intensely all day. Day two would be sound, paying attention to voices, background noise, tone, like really listening to how people deliver what they're saying to you. Day three, smell, be aware of scents around you, be aware of things that trigger memories, right? If you smell a certain scent, what happens? Four is taste, right? So when you're doing a vow of silence and you're focusing on taste, this also means eating slowly, savoring every bite. From day five is touch. So you want to notice textures, surfaces, warmth, or cold. And so some mindful living tips from Anita Avidian. Mindful driving, no music, no phone. Just focus on your breath, the road, your surroundings. Mindful eating. Eat without a screen. Chew slowly. Notice texture and flavor. And then mindful speaking. Ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? Reflection and some journal prompts. So here you think the first reflection prompt is, when I get angry, where do I feel it in my body? Right? Do you feel it in your stomach? Does your chest tighten up? Does your heart beat faster? Do your ears get hot? Do you feel it behind the eyes? Does it feel like a migraine? Like, what are the actual physiological senses? What are the things that you notice happening when you're starting to experience anger? Which sense calms me the fastest? So think about that, right? When we're talking about being mindful, when we're talking about awareness, knowing how to calm ourselves, right? It's real easy to talk about triggers and, oh, that pisses me off, that upsets me, that's my pet peeve. But what about the opposite? How many of us are documenting the things that work to calm us down? Is it a sense of smell? Can something you smell instantly start bringing down your elevated state? Is it something you hear? Is it music? Is it a particular person's voice, right? Is it a text? Is it think about, what is the sense that calms you the most? And how did I feel before and after the five senses grounding exercise? So after you do that, there's space, document it, know yourself better than you know anybody else, right? Part of this is becoming your own best friend, learning yourself all over again, starting all the way back to the belief checklist, right? Add these things, this knowledge, to your wealth of knowledge that you already have, but just be more intentional with what you know about you. Another question is, what surprised me when I practiced silence or slow down? To document things about how you were shocked, right? What are some things, some revelations, right? What are some things you didn't know about yourself before that you knew or now know after doing this particular practice? And then What would it look like to live more mindfully every day? What would it look like if you practice this 5 to 10 minutes every day until you're able to maybe do an hour, to where you can make being present, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of all the different things that are happening on purpose every day, right? So those of us that have been incarcerated, as an example, we talk about post incarceration syndrome, or trauma, right? Living in a constant state of survival mode makes people that's done a lot of time, especially in some of the harsher facilities, hyper vigilant, right? So some of these things that I'm talking about, being super aware and super conscious of people's energies, their moods, where people are even standing in a particular room when you're in it. Are you facing a doorway, or is your back to where people can come in? Which, it's rare. I've rarely met somebody or talked to somebody that did a lot of time, especially in dangerous facilities, that have not automatically positioned themselves to see exits and not have their back to where people are entering into a room. It's just a survival thing, you know? So there's affirmations. I don't react, I respond, because a reaction is like you're a puppet, right? I don't explode, I explore. So explore your belief checklist. Ask those questions. Get curious. Why are you feeling? Why are you getting mad? What is it about whatever this person did, said, or the scenario that is causing you to experience anger? And then a mindfulness and anger toolkit, right? So take a moment and do the exercise. Do the 5 things you can see, the 4 things you can touch, the 3 things you can hear, the 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Switch it up. Do it in different orders. Um, and again, consistently asking yourself these questions. When I get angry, where do I feel it in my body? Which scent calms me the fastest? Those are big data points for being better when it comes to being mindful instead of reacting. And this is a parenting book, but it's also a evolution, an internal evolution workbook. This is about becoming a better version of yourself so that you can be better in all aspects of your life, parenting included. This isn't exclusive to parenting, but I feel and believe that we must first parent ourselves. So, as we talk about these things, right? So, for that chapter, uh, being mindfulness, these are bite sized lessons, right, in the text. But the work happens after you read. The work happens when you actually do the exercises. Do a 5 hour. Start with 5 minutes if you have to, right? Build yourself up like working out. Do the reps. Learn what works best for you. Put your best foot forward and continue to practice things like mindfulness and being aware. Like right now, this carpet in my office it feels so good on my feet, right? I don't have any slippers on or anything. Just as I'm even talking about it, I'm realizing my elbow is on this really soft armchair. I can feel the pressure of the soft cushion on my back. I can feel what my hat's doing on my ears. This ear's out, this one's covered, right? Paying attention to these things, it's a lot less likely that someone could open my door and cause me to become angry or cause me to lose my cool or rock my boat when I'm already in a grounded state of calm. You know, I personally enjoy having all of my faculties about me. I enjoy being able to rein it in when I have big emotions, right? And I come from a childhood of living in anger, um, living with the narrative that I had an anger problem, that I had an uncontrollable anger. There were diagnoses, however you say it, whatever you want to call it. There were people with degrees who told me that I had these issues, right? That I was intermittent explosive disorder, or just angry about everything, and that I wasn't able to control it. And essentially, I'm sure, my mom argued with medications and things. That's one thing I will always give props to my mom's for, is not just being willing to just put me on some type of medication when I was young. And ironically, it took me going to prison and pursuing knowledge about psychology and myself, like trying to figure out me, where I realized that I totally, the whole time, absolutely had control over my anger. Maybe not feeling it, but the behavior that came after experiencing it, I definitely had 100% control over. So being mindful and being aware became really, really important and imperative for me to be mindful and be aware and understand when my temperature was rising, understand why, right? Understand that there's different things that factor into a moment that leads to a reaction, especially when it's a negative one that you end up regretting anyway, right? So, understanding that being mindful is probably one of the most important practices that you can practice. Knowing where you are, when you are, why you are, how you are, knowing your triggers, as they say, knowing the things that cause you to be activated, whether it's active, well, any emotion, right? If something is spoken and it causes a certain emotion to come up in you, it's really helpful to know what those are. It's really helpful to be mindful and understand. Sometimes when we name something that has control over us, or at least we think we do, um, we take some of that power away, right? Naming a thing makes it so that it's not so, I don't know, controlling, or um, it just minimizes the ability of the thing to take control over you, right? And so it's like, if I'm getting mad, but really I'm sad or embarrassed or feel injustice or threatened, and I name that, okay, am I really being threatened right now, or is it something else, right? As soon as I make that connection, or even start to have internal dialogue, I'm engaging in a different part of my brain that kind of counteracts the irrational part of my brain that is willing to take me there and have me respond in a way that I'll likely regret. And I have many, many times in the past. So, what I offer you is an opportunity to get to know yourself. Being mindful is about you, it's about knowing you, it's about knowing what makes you tick. Um, and the opposite, which I think is a little bit more important, what makes the ticking stop? What are the things that you know? What are your go to things, sensations? Some people use a stress ball, some people use fidgets when they're, experiencing anxiety. But what are the things that can, like, ground you instantly, right? I've heard of, like, tapping exercises. Um, that helps. It helps be mindful, and it helps be grounded if you just breathe and close your eyes and listen to you breathing, and at the same time pay attention to where any part of your body is in contact with some kind of surface, and just take note of it, right? Are you feeling okay? Is your body feeling okay? And just practice, 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 practice. One of my first times like really being intentional with mindfulness was washing the dishes, right? I'll be in the sink and I'm feeling the warm water. I'm feeling the texture of the whatever dish is in my hand, the sponge, if it's got both sides, the rough and the soft, and just really paying attention to the activity in such a way that nothing else is even entering my mind. Um, Somebody once told me that when I explained that to them in a different setting, that it's meditation. And I thought, yeah, meditation doesn't always have to be, sitting in a particular position, humming or owing or any of the things, though those are forms of meditation. But I think at the end of the day, meditation is defined by the person doing it. If you are completely and utterly being intentional about whatever it is you're doing, then you're meditating. You're focusing, you're centered, you're being self-aware. Self-awareness is also a path to accountability, right? Because when you're aware of everything that's around you, if you're aware of your personal space, you're aware of the words and the tone that come out of your mouth, you're aware of your thoughts, you're aware of other people's energy and capacity and just where they're at, right? That is those are ingredients for being successful navigating peopling, right? We spend a lot of time around people even when we don't want to sometimes. And so being aware also means being aware of others in your space, the energy that's moving around you, and how are you going to navigate through that. That, in my opinion, is what being mindful and having awareness and self-awareness is really all about. Being set up so that you can be the best version of yourself and make good decisions in all of your engagements and interactions, especially as a parent when you're done being at work, or you've got off the phone, whatever it is. The last thing you want is to be pestered, poked, and prodded, or have your name said over and over and over and over, even while you're responding, right? Little ones will do that. And for some people that could create a little bit of heightened state, anxiety, reactivity, and it's not their fault, because whatever is going on in their world has nothing to do with what's going on in yours, or what went on at work, or what went on the phone with your partner, or whatever with the billing person you were just talking to, or trying to work through something like insurance phone call. Anything that diminishes your ability to be fully present in a good way is something that you should consider when you're parenting little people who are going to um, be more responsive. And again, there's the 55-38-7 rule, right? When you're communicating, people are paying attention to 55% of your body language. 38% is your tonality and delivery, and only 7% is the actual words you hear come out of somebody's mouth. So think about that when a child is being exposed to you, your energies, your tonality, your delivery, right? With your 7%, you're saying the one thing. But if the 55%, your body language, and the 38%, your tonality, your delivery, is the opposite of the 7%, then what are you actually saying? And I've said this before and I'll say it again because it's important that these lessons are repetitions. When we practice better, we do better. When we know better, we do better. In theory, because a lot of people know things and still choose not to um, move accordingly, right? You know that you're not supposed to punch somebody in the face when you get angry, right? But people still do it all the time. Um, so being aware of where you're at, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, your level of energy, um, I think is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing in all relationships, especially the relationship with yourself, because the relationship with yourself determines all your other relationships, period, right? So be mindful, be good to yourself, give yourself grace, and give yourself as much of the sensations, right? Experience your experience, like intentionally. Life is the grandest of experiences that we get. We don't get anything better than life, right? So be mindful, be present, be aware of how you're experiencing your experience. And then we're sharing experiences with others all throughout our life. It's not my life and your life. It's just life. And we get to share energies and space and ideas and all these different things within this one life. Everybody who's alive today is experiencing the same life that I'm experiencing. It's all one life, right? And the way we choose to move through it is going to affect everybody we touch, starting with children that we choose to raise. They're the first humans that we have direct influence over. And if we are not mindful, if we are not aware of how we're showing up, then that ripple effect is going to go out into the world. It's going to go out into other people's experiences if we're passing on negative or toxic traits to the people that we have that type of power over, right? And so I just want you to think of yourself as a conduit of positivity, um, and be that for yourself, be that for your children, be that for your nieces, for your nephews, for anybody that you just happen to have an engagement with. Be mindful and be aware how you show up in those spaces. And hopefully, everything you do leads to a bridge to a better outcome for yourself, for your children, and for anybody that you come into contact with. That's what I got tonight. Uh, I'm going to continue on this journey, going through these lessons, these bite size kind of framework around how we can be better humans, better parents, better friends, better partners, and just have a better experience on this planet. Because if we can model it, we can do good parenting by osmosis. They can just receive good parenting because we're good people. And if we practice being good humans, if we practice being better to ourselves, our kids are going to receive that message because that's what they're paying attention to, the words. Only 7% of how we communicate